strong back check by Kyle. That would be the area that I think over the 3 games we've improved the most was our back pressure. And it cost us kind of in the first game, and it caused us an awful lot of problems in our end of the ice. And our forwards did a really strong job of coming back and controlling the middle of the ice, or at least competing in the middle of the ice. And then it allowed, Kyle to break that loose. So that was Kyle's best game probably of the year. And it's not goal based. It's based on all the other things he did away from the puck. And, other than the 3 of those guys spending time in the penalty box, they were good tonight for sure.
We'll go next to Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Go ahead, Mike.
Paul, you mentioned the back pressure and the neutral zone play, but you guys also seem to keep a lot of offensive rallies alive in the Calgary zone. And I'm thinking specifically of Mark Scheifele's goal where I don't know how many seconds had eclipsed, but that's a play that looked to be almost dead, where Calgary has a clear and he knocks it out of the air, keeps it alive, gets to the net and scores the goal. Those little things that, sometimes you get the payoff. Lots of times there is no payoff other than maybe, what does it mean to get rewarded like that? And when you see your team battling like that, it must be a good sign.
Well, it's going to make the video because, the point that you made, you don't always keep that puck in, right? So Mark knocks that down. But if you don't keep that puck in because of where Mark is at that time, you're not going to give anything up. So if they complete that clear and they're coming through the neutral zone, our numbers are right. We're in really good shape, which takes you to your defensive zone, and then you're not chasing the game in your own end. You're not behind it. You're not having a difficult time sorting out, coverage. So that idea, and I thought we had a bunch of those tonight. Every once in a while you get the payoff of a goal, which is an important thing to get the players to continue to do it. But what's really valuable is that you'll give up far less D zone time. You'll give up far less odd man rushes. I thought we got better with that. The first period, they had a bunch of chances. Connor was really strong at that point. And then we got better with it. And that was, for me, what turned the game.
You guys holding that lead, do those things connect to each other at all, or how do they go work together to make that lead safe?
It is absolutely connected to the point of, if you're behind the play, they get odd man rushes, and at that point you're at the mercy of kind of what happens off the rush. And if you're right numbers, then the better your numbers are, the first thing you'll notice that your defensive gap is better. Right, the D have far more confidence to try to hold the line, to knock things down. So even if they gain the line on you at that point, your numbers are right. And there were a lot of plays that they're good at it. They work into the inside the dots in the offensive zone. It's a real challenge if you're chasing that from behind. And I still felt that was the big thing in game 1 of this 3-game block, where we were behind it. And it looked like we were playing a man-to-man defense, which we don't, but it looked like that. We spent an awful lot of time, and it's all part of that connection from one end to the other.
We'll go next to Scott Billick from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Thanks, Gregor. Paul, you've been behind the bench for every one of Connor Hellebuyck's 153 wins. He sets a franchise record tonight. I guess, it's been, I think this is his 7th season now, maybe his 6th. I think it's his 7th season. But I guess what stood out to you about him in the way that he's been able to, take over a record like that in a relatively short time?
True. It didn't take him long to do it. Tonight's game was, was a really good example of it. Like, he was really good tonight and made a bunch of saves, and most of that would just be quiet. Right. It just, that's, when you have those elite players, they make some things look easy that aren't. And I thought that that was a prime example tonight. It probably took me a little while to figure out, like some of his post-game press conferences, he would be so fired up after. And I think it was, you guys will remember this, I think it was a Ranger game that I pulled him in. And he said, if I play like that, we're gonna win the Vezina, we're gonna win the Stanley Cup. And he took some abuse, I think, for that. But this guy has an inner belief and inner drive. And there's lots of guys with an inner belief, and it's not connected to an inner drive, but he has it in spades. So if his game's not right, he's wired in practice. Like, he's pushing to get better all the time. And he's got that great mix of talent and drive.
We'll go next to Ken Weeb from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weaver.
Well, what stood out about the maturation and evolution, if you will, of Mason Appleton's game?
Yeah. So in game one of this series, I think he worked so hard and not one good thing went for him, right? Like, he couldn't get a break with the puck. He was just competing and nothing good. And then he got a little bit better the next night. So a few things went for him. And tonight was almost a payoff, I thought, from game one, because he played so darn hard. He would get to this point at the end of each of his first seasons, kind of where in the last month and a half, he'd have his A game going, and he'd be fast and he'd be determined and he'd be on the puck. So credit to Mason. He figured out a way. I thought he was really good in the bubble, but he figured out a way to use this time. So you could tell right from day one at training camp, he was really focused on a handful of things in his game. And it's interesting, because I've always thought of Andrew Kopp and Adam Lowry as a pair, right? And now I'm looking at Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton as a pair that really play off each other very, very well.
And we'll go to Brian Munns from TSN 1290. Go ahead, Munnsy.
Paul, would there be one common denominator from this 7-game homestand in which you go 4-2-1 that really gives you a lot of, I don't know if excitement's the right word, but a smile on your face that it's done?
I thought after the Toronto game where we struggled, we didn't play very well in that game. I thought we learned some lessons and went into the Ottawa series. Ottawa was really playing hard and confident at that time. And we learned some lessons. We got a little bit better. I thought we came out of the Edmonton game, and it was a tough defeat, and learned some lessons. And even the same in the first of the Calgary series. I think this team learns fast. I think they can process the game at a high level. So the bench is great right now.